right, so for the next few podcasts we're going to be doing, we're going to be sort of changing up the schedule and the structure a little bit. We're going to look to try to adjust and have the interviews with our guests. We're going to alternate them and go every other week. And then in the weeks that we don't have a guest, we're going to go over some tactical steps on different strategies and different practices and some different tips on some different things that you can implement right away. These are going to be a little bit shorter, where the interviews are going to be a little bit longer. So we're going to try that. We're testing it out. We're just going to see how this works. Would love your feedback after we've gone through a few of these to see what you like or what you don't like. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump right into this first one. And this is all about webinars. So the next few ones are going to be on these lovely, lovely things called webinars that everybody loves to do. And if you're not doing them, you should probably do them. But the first topic I want to go over is pre-recorded versus live webinars. What's better? Well, I'm sure most of you are pretty familiar with your traditional webinar experience where you go in, you sign up, and then you go on, and there's a screen capture, and somebody walks through a slide deck, and they walk you through this thing for 30 to 60 minutes. Well, I'm sure some of you have tried or wanted to in times to do a pre-recorded one. So what I want to go over is really what's better, to do one pre-recorded or to do one live, because now you sort of have that capability of doing that. So let's look at live. Here's where live might be better. The first thing is if you want to have some sort of interactive experience with somebody, in other words, you want to be able to ask your audience questions, or you want to have a poll, or you want that interactivity. Maybe there's you've got, I don't know, like a Twitter feed that you want to like talk to people and stuff like that. That's where having a live webinar really is going to work really well. If you're on-camera person or you're a person who's directing the webinar, if you want them to have that interaction, that experience with them, you can't really fake that. It's a little bit more difficult. So that would be a use case in where you want to use a live webinar. The other area where you might want to consider a live webinar, sometimes it's a little bit less work. And you know what? You kind of just have to go. It's live, and so just like with live TV, anything goes. So mistakes and issues and challenges and whatever, you just got to go through. So sometimes mentally you're kind of like, I just got to power through this, and we just got to go, and we're just going to force this thing, and it's just going to happen. And we've seen a lot of times where you just get some amazing results and where you're just kind of focused and you do that. So where on the flip side you might see a pre-recorded webinar that might work a little bit better is, let's say that the idea of that last point that is put on about, it's live and anything goes, that freaks you out. And you have a really hard time talking to a live audience or talking to a computer screen or whatever that is, and you're really, really worried that you're going to mess up and you're just going to lock up mid-webinar, which I've heard of that happening once or twice before. I may or may not have had any issues with that. But that might be a really good use case to say, you know what, let's pre-record this webinar. And make sure that we've got all those issues ironed out. So that's one use case for that. Another one is on your messaging. Let's say you're a little worried that, we're going to talk about this webinar for 30 minutes. We want to make sure it ends at that time and we're efficiently using our audience's time. But sometimes you can go on extemporaneously and go down into rabbit holes. I don't know anybody who does that at all whatsoever. So that would be a good use case and a good opportunity to have that pre-recorded, so you can make sure that you fit everything within that 30-minute window very, very nicely, and it goes off without a hitch, and the messaging is on point and all that good stuff. The other area is to making sure that let's say you do the webinar and you feel like we feel like we were a little off point over here. You have that time to be able to go back and really dial it in. Or if you want to make some changes later, you feel like this didn't come out quite the way that I wanted it to, that is a really good use case there. So, really simply, two use cases for that. Live versus pre-recorded. Depends on what the outcome, what you want. Really largely, if you want that interactivity, go live. If you want to make sure that message is short and to the point and concise, you've got that the messaging dialed in, you might want to consider doing it pre-recorded. So that's the quick tip for you. For the next one we're going to do, we're actually going to talk about how to fake a live webinar. So if you decide to do a pre-recorded one, but you want to push it live and still have that experience, we're going to talk about how to do that and why you might want to do that. So thanks again for watching this episode, or listening if you're on iTunes. And subscribe, like, share, do all that good stuff. And we'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions, send them in. Thanks.